Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Upwave Customer Showcase Series. I'm Chris Kelly, founder and CEO of Upwave, a brand analytics software platform. We are thrilled today to be joined in our Customer Showcase series by Pierre Bouvard, the Chief Insights Officer at Cumulus Media and Westwood One. Pierre, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
We're glad to have you on. We love having you and Cumulus and Westwood One as customers, and we love having you as a well-known thought leader across the ad measurement space. So I know our audience will enjoy hearing from you today. So I'll start, Pierre, with a topic on probably everyone's minds as we potentially head into a recession, and that is how advertisers are thinking about budget decisions. There's this long debate about how they should budget for long-term brand building versus short-term sales activation. And those topics come on everyone's minds when budgets are getting cut. So how do you think about this? I'm sure you're being asked by your advertising clients about this topic, right?
Yeah, there's the 95-5 rule, which is only 5% of B2B customers or consumers are actually in market at any point in time. And some have suggested that if you get into a point of economic uncertainty, it becomes the 1% 99 rule, where there's fewer people in market. And so performance is about converting existing demand, people that are in the market for something. And brand building is really about creating future demand and future customers. And what the gurus are saying is that in a time of economic uncertainty, you should actually shift whatever resources or creative versions you have to creating future demand. Because if there's going to be less existing demand, then your performance marketing is going to find less willing and able buyers. You should really shift more to brand building messages. So that's kind of the conversation now. In fear, sometimes people ratchet up the performance marketing more because it feels like, well, that's a more prudent thing
quick
to do.
win. Yeah.
But you end up pounding away at people that are less in market. So that becomes kind of a waste. You should always have a mix. I mean, the magic number 60-40, 60% brand building, but some are suggesting if we are getting into economic uncertainty, slide it more towards brand.
Yeah. Great reminder to read your Bernayne Fields to freshen up on the 60-40 rule and be willing to revisit your assumptions in time of economic uncertainty. That's right. That's great to hear. And I love that 95-5 rule of thumb. So thinking about how you specifically apply that knowledge to your conversations at Cumulus Westwood One. So you guys are a leading platform for radio, streaming audio, and podcasts. I think a lot of our listeners probably think of podcasts and think, oh, direct response, right? I hear all these promo codes in podcasts. They must trying to measure whether the podcast ad drove them to a website, whether the streaming audio ad drove them to a website. But I was actually poking around some of your dashboards to prep for this conversation and saw you guys are actually crushing the norms for aided awareness and familiarity on a few recent campaigns. So how should I think about those two things that might seem in conflict, this reputation of strength in DR, but the empirical data showing strength in brand building? Are advertisers starting to ask you for more top of funnel KPIs?
Absolutely. So, the dawn of podcasting 6 or 7 years ago was basically powered by DR. The wonderful thing about direct response brands is they don't care about audience or profile. They're just focused on, can I make a sale? And they were stunned and amazed by how powerfully podcasts can drive sales. But the latest Magellan report, the company that is counts the ads in podcasting, about 50% of the spend is from brands and about 50% of the spend is from DR. And interestingly, that 50-50 has been the same way for 3 years. I thought for sure brand would surpass DR. But what's happening is that DR is still seeing amazing results. And so they continue to grow their investment. I think the biggest issue we have in our industry is about language. So I make a media investment and the agency says, I need an attribution study, almost like a reflex. Then you listen to the ad and you say, well, this is a brand building ad. This is an ad to drive awareness and interest and consideration. And actually an attribution study would fail on a brand building ad because there's no website, or you're not saying the website a lot. There's no offer or something like that. So I think one of the challenges is take a step back and listen to the creative. If there isn't a website and you're not repeating it 5 times, you're a brand ad, and therefore you need a brand lift study. Don't be so reflexive thinking everything has to be an attribution study.
Yeah. You don't get an immediate website visit or an immediate sale if you're building your brand. Yeah, we see that and have those same conversations in other channels, in online video, in CTV and linear. So I think that is a challenge people are seeing everywhere with the lack of language distinction, like you mentioned. So that's a great point. So I'd love to zoom in on a case study that you guys published recently. You published a case study with a few measurement partners. Upwave was happy to be part of it. MRI Simmons, Nielsen, some other great measurement companies were part of it as well. And it talked about your success for NFL audio content. So can you tell our audience what the takeaways are of that case study you guys published?
Absolutely. So for many years, the streaming audio of the NFL was behind a paywall. And this season, our 500 radio station affiliates that broadcast our play-by-play of Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday night, NFL prime time could now simulcast the stream on their websites or apps for their consumers. And so one of our major clients, we created a pre-roll that we upwaved, and we were able to really see significant lift, exposed, unexposed, in up and down the purchase funnel. The cool thing is a couple of things. First of all, because you've got this dashboard, we could go in literally weekly and provide clients updates. And so we literally every 10 days went in, pulled down the latest update and ship that off to the agency and the brand so they could really see the progression through the survey. And that kind of snapshot in time is unique, because usually when people think brand lift, it's this one big study that kind of comes at the end.
Yeah, the post.
Here we were, able to offer quick updates. There was one other thing we were totally unaware of. We have all these affiliates, different ownerships and this and that. And the question kept coming in, what kind of impressions are we generating off this ad unit and the broadcast in general? And we had to kind of pull this data from all these different streaming providers. But because you guys are very focused on verifying the impressions, we actually used the Upwave impressions to help everybody understand how is this new streaming thing going. So that was kind of an unexpected use case of your platform that we hadn't, initially anticipated up front.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I love when there's an unexpected differentiator. And yeah, we have built a lot of technology to help understand reach and frequency, not just the brand lift that a campaign is driving. So glad you saw that other use case for verification purposes. And I love that very creative use of cutting the data by ad units. We spend a lot of time thinking of how to have our software cut the data by ad types, by genre, by creative concept, because we know those granular cuts are where you find the insights. And it sounds like with this new ad unit you rolled out, that was important to understand what lift that was driving. So that's great. So I'll close with an open-ended question, Pierre. What conversations do you expect to have with your advertisers the upcoming year about how they're going to keep measuring their campaigns and keep showing brand growth with your inventory?
Yeah, there's this camp in the industry. I'm a performance marketer. I'm a brand marketer. This is a performance campaign. No, this is a brand campaign. And there's some new research out just this past week that I'm really looking forward to sharing with our clients. And the article is from the legendary and iconic marketing professor and journalist Mark Ritson, who wrote recently in Marketing Week about a major creative study that was done by System One, and they looked at 18,000 ads. And what they found was brand building ads actually also create strong short-term performance. So if you have a really powerful emotion-based brand building ad, that can actually drive short-term performance. It doesn't work the other way, though. that a performance ad
Interesting.
Doesn't have a significant effect on brand building. So what this will say to marketers is, if you're doing brand building campaign, you're actually doing double duty.
Yeah.
You're creating future demand, and you're also converting existing demand. If you're obsessively and only focused on short-term sales activation and converting existing demand, you're not going to get any brand building, or you're not going to create future customers or create future demand. So that is I think from System One, the creative testing shop, but that's, I think, a very cool insight that kind of shows the double value of brand advertising.
Yeah, that's great. You get the twofer with brand advertising, not necessarily with a short-term performance-focused ad. That's a great lesson for our audience. Well, thank you, Pierre. Appreciate you joining us today. And I will apply the label you applied to Mark to you as well. The legendary and iconic Pierre Bouvard, great voice in ad measurement and the importance of brand building. So happy to continue partnering with you, and happy to continue having this conversation of how marketers should understand how to measure their brand building. So thanks, Pierre, and appreciate you joining us.
Thanks so much.